Well, good afternoon and welcome to BBRC Britain and English. Well, today I bring you the rather sad news, the untimely death of Her Majesty the Queen, Queen Elizabeth II. Queen Elizabeth sadly died yesterday afternoon after probably a short illness. We haven't heard all the details as yet, so I'll probably bring you some more details as we go forth. But certainly now Prince Charles is King Charles III, after sadly Her Majesty died yesterday up in Balmoral in Scotland. Now I'm going to light a candle in respect of the dear Queen, sadly, who passed away yesterday, aged 96. A glorious life, certainly, of service, duty and dedication to our subjects in this country and the Commonwealth. So blow that one out. I've got 2 tea lights here, makeshift candles here, as you can see. There we are, for Her Majesty. If I may, I'd like to say a few words as we go forth on this journey, and in sorrow and in mourning for Her Majesty the Queen, who lost her husband almost exactly 17 months ago in April 2021. Well, if I may, I'd like to just tell you some information about the Queen. She served various countries. She was head of, and as well, the Commonwealth, which was originally something like 40 odd countries, and many other countries joined over the years, including those that had no association at all with Britain. I think it became about 60 odd. No doubt you might have recently seen the Commonwealth Games from Birmingham. Well, there's lots of heads of state who have paid tribute, including from New Zealand and various other countries here. President Biden, just looking at the internet here on the BBC website, and there's also rolling news on the BBC, ITV and Sky. BBC being the most prominent one in this country, with also rolling radio reports and internet updates. There we are, France's Emmanuel Macron led the tributes, kind-hearted Queen who was a friend of France, there we are, and various other Canada, China, and this can be all read on the website, so I won't go through it all now. The Netherlands, Spain, and various other countries as you'd expect, Belgium, Germany, India, Saudi Arabia, a reassuring presence. And also Boris Johnson paid tribute to Her Majesty. You know, Boris was, no doubt, as you well realise, was a Prime Minister here until 2 days ago. And Liz Truss actually was the last person to see the Queen in public office on Tuesday, when she took up office after Boris Johnson resigned, as is custom, and then she took office almost straight away. Sadly, it will be the last time Boris would see her, and the new Prime Minister, Liz Truss, who took up office only 3 days ago. And Boris said it was a deep and personal loss, and he talked about his respect for the Queen and her exemplary service, going back to just after the war.
I know that today there are countless people in this country and around the world who have experienced the same sudden access of unexpected emotion. And I think millions of us are trying to understand why we are feeling this deep and personal and almost familial sense of loss. Perhaps it's partly that she's always been there, a changeless human reference point in British life, the person who, all the surveys say, appears most often in our dreams, so unvarying in her pole-star radiance that we have perhaps been lulled into thinking that she might be in some way eternal. But I think our shock is keener today because we are coming to understand in her death the full magnitude of what she did for us all.
Well, Snippet from Boris Johnson's tribute this morning in the House of Commons. Of course, the outgoing Prime Minister, he's now gone. He's now on the back benches here. Also a tribute from Liz Truss, which I will play a clip of. But also the former Prime Minister from 2016 to 19, Teresa May, talking in the House of Commons with a tribute of her own.
Tells of the time he had a dream. He dreamt that he was sitting in the back of a Range Rover being driven around a Balmoral estate, and the driver was Her Majesty the Queen, and the passenger's seat was occupied by his wife, the Prime Minister. And then he woke up and realised it was reality. Her Majesty loved the countryside, and she was down to earth and a woman of common sense. I remember one picnic at Balmoral which was taking place in one of the bothes on the estate. The hampers came from the castle and we all mucked in to put the food and drink out on the table. I picked up some cheese, put it on a plate and was transferring it to the table. The cheese fell on the floor. I had a split-second decision to make. I picked up the cheese, put it on the plate and put it on the table. And I turned round to see that my every move had been watched very carefully by Her Majesty the Queen. I looked at her, she looked at me, and she just smiled. And the cheese remained on the table. This is indeed a sad day. But it is also a day of celebration of a life well spent in the service of others.
More can be seen on the BBC website. Very down-to-earth lady, the Queen, Liz Truss. Liz Truss.
We are all devastated by the news that we have just heard from Balmoral. The death of Her Majesty the Queen is a huge shock to the nation and to the world. Queen Elizabeth II was the rock on which modern Britain was built. Our country has grown and flourished under her reign. Britain is the great country it is today because of her. She ascended the throne just after the Second World War. She championed the development of the Commonwealth from a small group of 7 countries to a family of 56 nations, spanning every continent of the world. We are now a modern, thriving, dynamic nation. Through thick and thin, Queen Elizabeth II provided us with the stability and the strength that we needed. She was the very spirit of Great Britain, and that spirit will endure. She has been our longest ever reigning monarch. It's an extraordinary achievement to have presided with such dignity and grace for 70 years. Her life of service stretched beyond most of our living memories. In return, she was loved and admired by the people in the United Kingdom and all around the world. She has been a personal inspiration to me and to many Britons. Her devotion to duty is an example to us all.
Well, I'll leave it there, and do look at the BBC website if you'd like to hear all that. It's about 3 minutes long, and as I say, the tribute from Teresa May, former Prime Minister. So that's the current Prime Minister, in case you're not up to date. Elizabeth Truss, Liz Truss, that's the new Prime Minister, as of Tuesday the 6th of September. Before we had Boris Johnson, now he's the former Prime Minister, and we've also heard from Teresa May. Now, just a bit of update here. The King has been speaking, as I speak now, to the Prime Minister, Liz Truss, at Downing Street. He came down from Balmoral to RAF Northolt in West London, and probably travelled by car. I think it's the Rolls Royce. They're on the old Rolls Royces. He's come in the lovely old Rolls Royces to Buckingham Palace. He's spoken to a few of the people outside. Lots of people have come, lots of flowers. And you may remember when Diana died, there was an awful lot of flowers outside. There's a lot of flowers being deposited there in memory and respect. They're going to go into Green Park, I think after about 12 hours. Well, on a personal note, I did meet from a distance on Maundy Thursday. I met the Queen from a distance, like I say, when she got off the train in 1994 to distribute Maundy money. I took some photographs. It's about March 1994. Well, I do know she's had an exemplary service of duty and dedication. She's always had a good quip and comment and had a laugh with her subjects. She tried to find out a bit about people you know as well before she sees them. Certainly she tried to find things out about people, and certainly those who've been knighted with her and had personal audiences with her have actually been surprised at the amount of knowledge and the breadth of knowledge she has. She's visited so many countries, more than any other monarch in the Commonwealth. She's been to Kenya several times. That's where she found out that her father had died and she'd become Queen in 1952. Well, I do believe that later on Charles is going to make a speech, that's the new king, and there's going to be a service at St Paul's Cathedral where about 2,000 members of the public can actually attend, but they have to book in advance and get a wristband or something like that. So there'll be rolling news from the BBC, Sky and ITV and on the internet. Do keep up with it if you want to. Things are changing constitutionally as well, whether we like it or not. This is our current stamps with the Queen on them. Sadly that will change. And well, the notes have had the Queen on them since most of us can remember. The old £20 notes actually here I've dug out. That's a new £10 note. Out of the wallet here. So that's all going to change in time, no doubt. Well, King Charles will be on them. And he's going to probably run the monarchy very different to the Queen. She was certainly more stoic, and she didn't do interviews on request. She did come out in times of national crisis, and she always kept the country together. £20 note, the fiver. We've got all the tributes going on here, and news of the latest information, what's happening. I haven't heard when the funeral is at the moment. They're still talking about arrangements, and of course, it's the news only broke about 22 hours ago. £10 note. So it's going to be the coins, stamps, and notes which are going to change. And be interested in the coins here, British coins. Queen on the back of that's the 50p piece. £2 coin there. Queen, our strength and stay, has been for years. It's hard to imagine a time without her. No doubt if you come to London you want to visit Buckingham Palace and the Queen Victoria Memorial. Go down the Mall and you can have a walk round the outside. Well, thank you very much for joining me here today on a very sad day. When we're in mourning, we're going to be possibly in mourning now until after the funeral. It's national mourning. We're grieving the sad loss of our dear Queen, Queen Elizabeth II. Thank you very much for joining me here today. God bless you, and I will try and update you in the future, and any more news and information, and pay more tribute to Her Majesty the Queen. God bless you all.